dad's dream to talk about his favorite team with the son of digging the stats. Come and join us, nerding on the Dbacks.
Hello, welcome to Nerding on the Dbacks, the best
And only
father-son baseball show
in America.
Yep.
Jamaica.
They don't got this in Jamaica.
I was just trying to think of countries from your song that you've been singing, because I feel like that'd knock it down. And I'm almost certain I believe they play cricket in Jamaica, not baseball.
Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru, Republic, Dominican, Cuba, Caribbean, Greenland, El Salvador too.
A lot of those countries, they probably do have podcasts about baseball, but not Jamaica.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Even
if you're
Peru.
with us for the first time, this is the kind of ridiculous content that we provide.
Yes.
So please like, comment, subscribe, rate, review, and of course, channel your inner kindergartner.
And share.
Yeah, he was yawning.
Yeah.
He wasn't crying. It might have sounded funny if you're just listening. So, rather than discuss individual games or series, we generally look at the big picture around here, and we focus more on performance than production, which I've got a good one for you later in the show about that. But catching up a little bit, Phoenix, you decided to join the cross-country team here?
Woo, yeah.
You had your physical today?
Yep, I had my physical.
All right.
To actually,
Be allowed.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah. So lots of running for you. Got to figure out how to hit.
It's kind of jogging.
Okay. Yeah. Well, jogging is running. Running encompasses all types of movement that is faster than a walk, I would say. Jogging is running.
So a speed walk is running?
No, faster than a walk.
Yeah.
That's still a walk.
Faster than a walk is speed walking.
We're going to agree to disagree on this. You don't agree to that? You're supposed to say it out loud.
I don't agree to that.
All right. And then...
So then why does she get mad at me for speed walking?
Who?
My coach.
Because you're not running.
I was supposed to be jogging.
Yep.
I hate you. All right.
And so we're gonna head out camping here later today, which this is our first family camping trip ever. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've all been camping individually, except for Limerick, but this is the first time that we will all go
Limerick's
out.
been camping.
Limerick's been camping?
But it's kind of like...
Oh, backyard camping. Yeah, yeah. I mean, where you can't just go in the house.
Oh, what house?
Good question. All the neighbors.
Oh.
Yeah. You know, that ladder we have to get over the fence.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
It's right there.
the rope ladder on the other side so we can pull it back up so the neighbors have no idea that we go into their yard all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's sneaky. Try it out yourself if you ever want to see what it's like. And then, of course,
Don't do that.
Not of course. But I've gotten a little sick, and Limerick got sick now here too, which kind of sucks for going out to do camping for the weekend.
6 feet.
But you know who else has been sick? All right.
Mom?
The Dbacks.
Oh.
But in a good way. They just they've been they won five out of their last 6 games, including a sweep of the Nationals, which we talked about on our Monday show, how the upcoming National Series, because they were facing 3 left-handed pitchers, might be a bad team and facing 3 left-handed pitchers might be their best opportunity for a sweep all season. And they pulled it off. Because if you don't know, they kind of destroy left-handed pitching. I wouldn't say destroy, but they're very good at it.
Well, now you know that they destroy left-handed pitching.
They have scored the most runs against the left-handed pitchers in all of Major League Baseball this year.
Yeah.
That's pretty rad.
They've been pretty hot.
Yeah.
You know what? And you know what else has hot in the title? Phoenix is who's hot and who's not.
That's right, big man. Let's get it going.
I'm not that big.
You're kind of big.
I'm not that big. My doctor told me I was 5'1". That's not bad.
Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. So tell us who's been hot, because we got a lot of hot boys.
Everybody.
That's a good answer. Almost everybody.
Well, I guess we'll do
There's
individual.
one sad there's a couple sad performers, but we'll do the hots. Start with the hots.
So I always start with a starting pitcher because pitchers are cool and hurt. Ryan Nelson as our hot boy today.
Ooh, Ryan.
He has 7 innings pitched, 0 runs, 9 strikeouts, 2 walks, 0 home runs, and his WPA is 0.11.
Yeah, that's so funny that his WPA is literally just a .11 for throwing 7 innings and having a shutout ball with 9 strikeouts, because in that game, the Dbacks won 17-0. And so him throwing a shutout made almost no difference in the outcome of that game. And so that's how WPA works. For those of you who are wondering, win percentage added is that basically he got credit for steering the win in the D-backs direction for like the first inning. And then it really didn't matter after that, because the D-backs, I think, put up 5 in the bottom of the first. And so his performance after that first inning really didn't matter. Yep. And so that's why he only gets a WPA of .11, because if it had been a close game, this is why WPA is kind of weird for a lot of players, especially starting pitchers. But in this game, obviously, Ryan Nelson pitched a gem. I would say almost certainly his best game all season. And which is crazy, because just like 3 games ago, we said it was his best game all season. So he's getting better and better. I think he was our hot pitcher just a couple weeks ago, wasn't he?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Ryan's been great. That's why his WPA is so low. Whereas even in 7 innings pitched, whereas the next guy is our relief pitcher, and he has a higher WPA, even though he's got less than half the innings pitched. And who is that?
And that pitcher is AJ Puk. That mother pucker, dude.
I love all the Puk jokes.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, he's a fucking good pitcher.
Yeah.
He has 3 innings pitched, 0 runs. He has 5 strikeouts, 1 walk, 0 home runs, and his WPA is 0.15.
Yeah, Puk Puns for the win.
Yeah.
I feel like that should just be his nickname, Puns.
Puk Puns.
Yeah, or Puk Puns.
Or AJ.
Yeah, that's
Puck.
Yeah. I wonder if his name is AJ or if he is an Andrew Jeremy. I don't know.
Who's Jeremy?
Just picking names that start with A and J.
Oh.
Yeah.
Andrew Jeremy.
Because some people are actually named AJ by their parents, where some people take the name AJ because it's the initials of their first and middle name.
That's not how that works.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Are you a doctor? Didn't think so.
I've given myself a doctorate certificate in baseball player names. So yeah, AJ Puk rocking. Of course, our biggest trade acquisition at the trade deadline, and it wasn't even at the deadline. So he's already got 3 innings pitched, 5 strikeouts, been absolutely dominant. I don't think he's given up a hit. He walked 1 guy, and he has been exactly what the D-backs wanted him to be so far. Yep. It's been awesome. He's so much fun to watch pitch too.
Yeah. So for the hot hitters, there was a lot. It was a very tough choice, but
that'll happen when you put up 17 runs in 1 game.
I pulled out who used to be the
poster boy, we'll call him.
The
poster boy. That's like the guy who represents the something.
He used to be the MCP of the Who's Not list.
Yeah.
The most cold player. And his name is Eugenio Suarez, or Gino, or Suarez.
And now he's been on 4 of the last 5 weeks? He's been on the hot list, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, he's just weird. Turned it around. He is so weird. Not like as a person, just the way his baseball season has gone is super strange.
He went from having like a 400 OPS to a 1.481 OPS.
Yeah, he's one dot in it.
Yep. He has 27 plate appearances, 1 double, 0 triples, and he's like Christian Walker, 4 home runs. Kind of like Christian
versus
Walker.
the Dodgers, yeah.
Yeah. Also didn't get hurt. Rest in peace, Christian Walker's. What did he get injured on?
Oblique.
Oh, butthole. Wait, oblique is a butt, right?
No.
Oh.
Oblique is, or it's the side of your.
Cut that. Cut what I said.
Cut that. No, it's the side of your ab. So like almost where you get the stitch, basically, when you run. That's pretty much right on your oblique.
Oh. I really said butthole.
It happens to a lot of batters when you swing really hard because you're pulling your body forward so hard.
Yeah.
It's such a violent movement, and your obliques are under so much stress to get you around quickly, and so yeah.
But he has 2 walks, 9 runs, and 8 RBIs, 0 stolen bases. His WPA is 0.05.
Yeah. So he's still that WPA is still rough. He's still not been coming. He didn't come through this past week in a lot of clutch situations. He did put up three of those 4 home runs came in that blowout game. So he's still been very good regardless. He deserves to be number 1 on this list, but you can only put up WPA numbers if you're given the opportunity, unless all you do is just hit solo home runs and like 1 run in tied games all the time.
Yeah. Our other hitter is Jake McCarthy.
Yeah. Jake the Rake.
He also 1 dotted his OPS, 1.318 for his OPS. He has 22 plate appearances, 1 double, 2 triples, 0 home runs. He has 5 runs, 3 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases.
Yeah, Jake's been on fire.
His WPA is 0.28.
Yeah, so he definitely deserved that 0.28. He's been coming in some clutch situations. It's been awesome. He's been so much fun to watch. He's been great. He's got a 136 WRC plus since the beginning of June. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's great.
And for our
who do we talk about?
Ice babies, but they're not really ice babies.
Don't talk over the music. That's the best part.
I'm
teasing.
No, you played over me.
I'm just having. Okay. Bring it.
Who
do we got?
You played the music over me.
I feel like we already know who the cold pitchers are if you've been paying attention to the Dbacks at all this past week, but let's talk about it anyway.
So we got, for the starting pitcher, we got Jordan Montgomery. Has 4 innings pitched, 6 runs all earned, 1 strikeout.
Yikes.
3 walks and 1 home run.
Yeah, he has ended up on this list a lot. While Eugenio Suarez was on the list quite a bit in the first half, so was Montgomery. He's just never really gotten himself into the hot pitchers. I think he ended up on our hot pitchers list once all season, and he's been on the cold pitchers list like 5-6 weeks. It's been rough. He has not been that good.
You know who's also barely been on the hot list? Paul Sewald.
That's true.
He has 2.1 innings pitched. He has 3 runs all earned, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks, and 0 home runs. His WPA is negative 0.27.
Yeah, he's kind of unraveled. I'm not sure exactly what's happened. The walks are killing him. You can't have that many walks in 2 1/3 innings, and that's primarily been his downfall. Other than that, 5 strikeouts is really good. He's just kind of had some bad sequencing, which is kind of bad luck. But he might need a little break. He could use possibly. It might be a good time. I say this because it's probably in his best interest. It might be a good time for the Dbacks and Paul Sewald to make the decision that Paul Sewald goes on the injured list for a couple of weeks with shoulder fatigue, aka dead arm. That's a thing that a lot of pitchers go on the injured list for. It's not that anything's injured or wrong. It's just usually if all of a sudden they lose their command or they lose like a mile or 2 per hour off of their fastball or something like that, they'll go on they'll go on the injured list for what's called shoulder fatigue. And they'll usually just do the minimum stay, 15 days, and that's it. And then they come back and they're like new again. And so I think it would be in the best interest of both Paul Sewald and the D-backs if they did that. Paul Sewald, because if he tries to pitch through shoulder fatigue or something like that, his numbers are going to look worse, and he's a free agent after this season, which means if he just goes on the IL for shoulder fatigue, he can preserve his numbers looking good before it gets worse, and he can work out whatever kinks he might have, as well as if he just has dead arm or something like that.
Yeah.
And so it would benefit him in free agency to get a better contract, and it would benefit the D-backs because the D-backs won't have to move him down the spectrum, or they don't have to make the awkward decision. Torrey doesn't have to make the team, because it's not just Torrey, it's the entire front office. Hazen and Torrey don't have to make the decision and to be moving him out of the closer role if he does that. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what ends up happening, especially if this continues through the weekend. I could definitely see it. They got Slade Ciccone. They can avoid sending Slade Ciccone down when we have some other guys coming off the IL. So I hope they do something like that, or he just figures it out. He's still got good numbers on the season, even with his last couple of weeks last 3 weeks of being pretty ugly looking out there. So I hope you come back, Paul.
For the, I guess, ice pitchers, they're not, or
ice hitters.
Hitters.
Yeah.
They're, it was a pretty good week, so they're not like iced. But
the worst has been.
Yeah, I guess. We got Geraldo Perdomo.
I get it, because they call him Jerry, which is confusing with Geraldo.
Yeah. His OPS is .668.
Which is still not bad. That's still
like league average.
I want to say it's like 85% of league average. I want to say that's like an OPS plus. So probably 85. He has
23 plate appearances, 1 double, 0 triples, 0 home runs. He has 5 runs and 6 RBIs and 1 stolen bases. His WPA is negative 0.16.
Yeah, so he's come up to the plate a lot with like Corbin, with Carroll on, with Suarez on, with McCarthy on base, those guys.
With
and he
Lourdes
hasn't. Lourdes is batting higher in the lineup, typically.
Yeah, but that's the only one who's important.
I love you. Your unabashed love for. I'm surprised Perdomo didn't have any walks. That's kind of his game. And when he's not walking, he's not going to end up having a great week or great. He's just not at his best if he's not taking walks. And then you also had Gabby Moreno. I'm just going to kind of jump and cut in front of you. But he had a 780 OPS, which is like a 115, 120 OPS for the week. He's not a cold boy. Just Perdomo, got to get back on the walks, and that's kind of it. I would say they had a great week. So yeah, awesome. I love it. That was and even though he wasn't on the Hot Boys, I want to throw a shout out to Ketel Marte and appreciation for him on both sides of the ball. His defense has been spectacular at second base. He's probably a heavy favorite at this point to win the Gold Glove in the National League for second base. He's got timely hits again and again. Hit that home run to bring the team within 1 run in the 9th earlier this week. He's really just been unreal. There's a strong chance he wins the NL MVP if the season ended today. Francisco Lindor entered the conversation over the past month with an insane stretch of play.
Who's Francisco Lindor?
He plays for the Mets. He's their shortstop and their leadoff man. And then the Mets are now just a half a game out of the wild card. And so a lot of times, if it's just splitting hairs between how, if you have like a really good player who's on a team that is competing for a playoff spot versus a really good player who's on a team that's not competing for a playoff spot, almost always the player on the team that is competing for the playoff spot is the player that wins the MVP, just because they want to give it to someone who's on a good team. And so if they're about equal otherwise. So Francisco Lindor has been fantastic. Ellie De La Cruz is having a great year as well. He's right there in the conversation. He's probably the single most entertaining player in Major League Baseball to watch. If you guys haven't watched Ellie De La Cruz, just look up Ellie De La Cruz highlights. He's just got insane tools. He's in the top 1% in speed. He's in the top 1% in exit velocity, which is how hard he hits the ball. And he's in the top 1% for how hard he throws the ball at shortstop. He's such a freak. He's such
Athlete.
a freak. He stole a base last week where his jump was so bad that the pitcher literally already let go of the ball before Ellie De La Cruz even started running to second base. It was nuts, and he still made it. Just crazy. And it wasn't like a delayed sort of steal. It was just, he just got a really terrible jump, but he's so fast, and he's so big that he's there in like 4 steps. And when he dives, he gets it. He was safe by just like a fraction of a second, but he was safe. It's just crazy watching him play. He's so much fun. That's it. The Reds are not in a playoff position. They're not competing for a playoff position. And they sold off some of their parts, some of their players. I don't think they're planning on competing for the rest of the season necessarily. They might, but he's not going to have the playoff narrative going for him like the other like Lindor and Marte. And I know our Ohtani is lurking there as well for MVP votes, but
How tall is Ellie De La Cruz?
6'7", 6'8".
Basketball. That's really where you need it.
Yeah, he probably, he's from a Dominican Republic, I think, but there's not a whole lot of Dominican guys that go into the NBA. It's all baseball. I think I've mentioned before, I went to the Dominican Republic, and this was probably 20 years ago, and we went to the top of Mount something or another. It's the tallest mountain in the Dominican Republic, and we took a tram up there, and everywhere you look across like everywhere you could see on the entire Dominican side of the island was just baseball fields. It's just baseball fields everywhere. Like every single team has every single MLB team now. This isn't the case back then, though they were there already. But every single team has their own training facilities for kids to come out to play there. The Dominican baseball is insane there.
Yeah, we're never gonna say that the Dominican didn't have baseball.
Yeah, I want to say
podcast.
even in the World Baseball Classic, I want to say it's basically like the Dominican, the USA, and Japan that are kind of like the 3 favorites to win it every year.
It's like Canada and USA for hockey.
Yep, exactly.
There's no
I
football.
wouldn't say that. Canada, USA, and Russia. Russia is really good at hockey. But yeah, actually, Sweden and Finland are all really good. Hockey's more dispersed for sure. But
There's no football.
no. And basketball, obviously, the United States is so far ahead of everybody. So that said, they are going to have, while they don't have football, they are going to have flag football in the 2028
I like it.
In the 2028 Summer Olympics. That's going to be awesome.
2028. Oh man.
So yeah, Ohtani is lurking there for the DH, but again, no DH has ever won the award. He's got Freddie Freeman, who's like not that far behind all the rest of the guys, so it's not like he's done it as much by himself. He's not been nearly as valuable to his own team. It's like in the American League, there's this discussion that goes on between Bobby Witt Jr. and Aaron Judge right now. They've been about the same level of good, but Bobby Witt has pretty much nobody else on his team helping him out, while Judge has Soto and a decent pitching, a decent starting rotation anyway. So he's got a little bit more than the Royals do.
Bobby
on
Witt
the
had
offensive side.
Lourdes. It'd probably be like a World Series team.
Yeah,
honestly.
probably.
Yeah.
And then
Lourdes can pitch.
and so Ohtani kind of has that with Freeman, whereas Lindor and Marte are pretty much so far ahead of the next best player on their team on the bat hitting side of the game that and Marte has been a better hitter, and he's probably going to win the Gold Glove. Right now, I would say if the season ended today, I think there is a very, very good chance. I would probably call Marte the favorite with a hedge of, I would probably put something like 50, probably like 40% odds on Marte and 35% odds on Lindor, and then like 10-ish% odds on Ohtani or De La Cruz. I think that's probably how I would break that down. So, yeah, and so that's pretty cool. I also want to say, if you go take a look at Lindor and Marte on their Baseball Savant pages.
Savant pages?
Yeah, so Savant pages, if you...
Why not just go to Fangraphs?
Because Savant measures things that happen on the field. Fangraphs doesn't measure things. Fangraphs has formulas to take those measurements and put them into usable data. But the Baseball Savant uses the StatCast data. So what their like expected hitting is, how fast they are, how good in the field they are, how hard they throw, just like all those things, right? Just a lot of different things. How hard they hit the ball, how often they barrel the ball up, just all that. And it's crazy how similar Lindor and Marte are when you look at their Savant pages. You could fool me that one is the other. It's pretty cool. And so talking about Marte and his Gold Glove level defense, the Dbacks are just flat out winning with defense. It's been so much fun to watch this team. That play that Pavin Smith made in the 3-5 hole on Wednesday afternoon was incredible.
The 3-5. I thought we were talking about baseball, not golf.
The 3-5 hole, so 3.5. They call it the 3.5 hole because it's each of the positions on the baseball field has a number associated with it, and so pitcher is number one.
But I thought that was like how long the field is. The field is from like home plate.
No, pitcher is number one. So like you'll hear like the 6-4-3 double play or the 4-6-3 double play or the 5-3-6 or the 5-4-3 double play, stuff like that. So what that means is pitcher is 1, catcher is 2, first base is 3, second base is 4, third base is 5.
No, third base is I don't know.
Shortstop is 6, and then outfield is 7 to 9 from left to right. And then so they call if you hit the ball in the hole between the first baseman and the second baseman, they call it the 3-5 hole because it's between position 3 and position 4 on the field. And so they call it 3.5, 3.5, 3.5. And if you hit it between the shortstop, or between the third baseman and the shortstop, third base is number 5.
No, third base is I don't know.
Third base is number 5. Shortstop is number 6. So they call it the 5-5 hole. You know how like in hockey, the hole under the goalie is called the 5 hole, right? And so the 5-5 hole and the 3-5 hole. And then if you hit it between second base and shortstop, they just call it up the middle. But yeah, so Pavin made that crazy play, and that's just an example. There were so many great plays. There was an amazing play also turned by Ketel Marte that Kevin Newman almost screwed up when he was playing first base. So it's been pretty cool. They're clearly one of the 5 best defensive teams in MLB. Combine that with a pitching staff that strikes out batters like it's 1999.
Like 1999?
Yeah, in 1999.
Dad, it is 2024.
There was not a lot of strikeouts back in 1999. Strikeouts have become a thing very much over the last decade or so.
Wasn't Babe Ruth playing in 1999?
1919. 80 years prior.
The Great Bambino.
70 years earlier. Yeah, but not.
Baby
then.
Ruth.
So yeah, 1999, there just wasn't a lot of strikeouts. Not like there is now. And plus, and you add that with an offense that is kind of middle of the pack in scoring runs. Like it's
1845.
Scoring. I don't think Major League Baseball existed in 1845.
1846.
I think Major League Baseball started around like 1869, I want to say, 1868. I'm not sure about that, though. That's a really good question, when they started tracking Major League Baseball. Yeah, they're middle of the pack on runs scored from home runs, so that makes it pretty cool. They have a nice balance on offense of scoring, knocking runners in when they're on the bases, and hitting home runs. And then they're one of the top few base running teams in MLB as well. And you mix all that up, and they're one of the most fun teams in Major League Baseball to watch. It's pretty awesome watching this team. I also want to throw out some Ryan Nelson appreciation, our hot boy.
Yeah.
He looks like even after the return of Rodriguez and Kelly, he might still be the third best pitcher on this team after Gallen and who am I missing? Fott, who's just been the stalwart of the rotation. And he's got good strikeouts. He's barely walking anybody. Hitters aren't squaring him up well either right now. He had a little bit of a home run problem earlier in the season, but he seems to have solved that issue.
So did Eugenio Suarez and Corbin Carroll.
You're right. And that's really not, I think I've mentioned it on the show a couple times in the past that
You've mentioned a lot of things on the
I
show.
have, but young pitchers, their natural talent to strike guys out and walk guys is kind of going to come through right away. But most young pitchers, when they first come up, they have issues with giving up home runs. They just kind of got to learn how to pitch without giving up home runs. Most pitchers still have an issue with that, even if everything else looks really great. And so the biggest change for Ryan Nelson from earlier in the season, though, because he's always been pitching pretty well, is just been he's really had a bend but not break kind of performance, where before, what I mean by that is before he would get guys on, he would have a runner or two get on, reach base, and then it would kind of all unravel, right? And he'd start to leave balls over the plate, and guys would smash it, and he'd give up a lot of runs, where now he's not doing that. He's still hitting his corners, still hitting his spots, and getting a lot of strikeouts or double plays. So very impressed with this young fella and how well he is, how good of a pitcher he has become this season.
I thought you were talking about the pitcher's arm.
The bend but not break. Yeah, he is. I mean, did he have no, he didn't have a break in his arm earlier. He had a really bad bruise on that line drive that hit his arm. And he wasn't able, remember, he went on that injured list for like 2 weeks, just the minimum stay.
I was like, oh.
But that's been it. He has not had any injuries due to pitching itself, other than just the hazard of being 53 feet away from the batter when he hit the ball into him. That's kind of it.
PTSD.
So, and then Yolber Diaz, if you haven't heard, Yolber Diaz got sent back down, but he looked really good in his 4-game call-up that he had. He kind of got blown up by the Royals, but then he came right back out with a solid outing against the Pirates. Pitched a shutout there.
Sorry.
Yeah, which is, Pirates don't have a great offense, or didn't then. They still don't have a great offense, but he did what had to be done.
I disagree.
Had to be done.
We went to a Pirates show. They had a great offense.
That's true. We did go to a Pirates show.
Yeah.
And they were very offensive. It was hilarious.
Well,
it was such a great show.
Not like offensive, like cuss words, not like the other offensive.
Yeah.
They were
I get, yeah. It was super
baseball.
fun. Yeah, baseball. And
they didn't throw baseballs.
No, they did not.
No, they just.
That would have been kind of awesome, though. That would have been very Peter Pan / Hook like.
Oh, I thought you were trying to come up with a pun.
No, we just got to watch Hook because there's a great scene in there where they play baseball. Huh. Captain Hook plays baseball.
Well, I feel like a pirate because we hook people into our baseball show.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. Like that?
Yeah, pound it.
Yeah.
All right, so
Lost Boys.
So Yolber Diaz got sent down, and I'm pretty sure it's in preparation for some long overdue returns from the injured list. Eduardo Rodriguez, who has not yet pitched for the Diamondbacks after given the team's largest contract in the offseason, over 4 years. And
Who even is this guy?
right? Eduardo Rodriguez is tentatively expected to pitch his first game for the D-backs on Tuesday next week.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, we'll find out. And so right now they sent down Yilber Diaz. They called up Slade Ciccone to take his spot on the roster. And so they're rolling with an extra relief pitcher right now. And Slade is pitching out of the bullpen for the first time. And in their bullpen, they added AJ Puk and Dylan Floro at the trade deadline. We talked about Puk last week in depth. So if you didn't hear that, go back and check it out. But yeah, he was our hot boy.
But finish this one.
Yeah, first check this out. And
well, you can go to the other part, but you just have to
almost the whole episode is all about AJ Puk.
Yeah, you just have to comment, and then
we spent
subscribe.
About 30, 40 minutes deep diving on AJ Puk and what he means for the team. Yeah. So yeah, and he has not disappointed at all.
Puk Puns.
Yes, they're going to continue on all through the season.
It was so fucking funny.
and so he came out with 3 scoreless appearances and looked downright dominant. Floro, who they picked up, we're not going to talk about Puk that much because, like I said, we talk about him a lot. Floro, they added Floro. He's a solid middle relief pitcher. He's actually
as a free agent, or did
no,
they
at the trade deadline. They traded Andres Chaparro, who has been their third baseman at AAA.
They traded through the Nationals, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was funny.
Yeah, and
we were literally just talking about how sometimes pitchers or hitters get traded and they go from the other dugout and they just walk across the field.
Yeah.
Hey, new teammates.
Yep. Yeah. So he just went from the Nationals clubhouse and walked around to the Dbacks clubhouse while they were here in Arizona, and he didn't pitch against the Nationals, but he was out in the bullpen for the D-backs.
That would have been funny.
He spent time in both bullpens over the series. And he also didn't pitch against the D-backs, I don't think.
I feel like you can't pitch against your own team because they've seen you pitch
a lot. It's very different being in the batter's box, hitting against a player that you have played defense behind. It's very different.
Is it?
Yeah, very.
How would you know?
I don't know. I guess I'm just making this up.
You just got traded?
Yeah, I just got traded. No, I've taken a lot of at-bats against players. I've played defense behind over a lot of innings, and it is just very different being in there. You know what they throw, but that doesn't mean it's any easier to hit it.
Yeah, because it looks slow in the outfield. You told me about that.
Yeah, it does look slow in the outfield, and then you get behind the pitcher or behind the catcher or in the batter's box, and holy cow, it looks so fast.
You're like, this guy sucks. You go to the catcher, oh my God.
You're going to knock my eye out. I'm going to lose it. I can't say that word. And so yeah, Floro actually has a lower, when they traded for Floro, he had a lower ERA as a relief pitcher than AJ Puk had when they traded for him. Now, Floro is probably in the middle of his best season, and so they got him at the right time. They didn't have to give up nearly as much. Floro is just here for this season, though I wouldn't be surprised if they re-signed him after the season. It's certainly the kind of depth they could use, but he's kind of Ryan Thompson-esque.
What? What?
Ryan Thompson-esque. That means he doesn't really throw that hard.
Wait, Ryan Thompson has a twin brother?
Floro doesn't throw like Thompson, so not quite. But his results are kind of Thompson-like in that he doesn't throw that hard. He only throws 90.3 miles per hour, which is super slow for a right-handed reliever out of the bullpen. It's 2 miles per hour slower than even Thompson, who throws very slow for a right-handed reliever out of the bullpen. He doesn't strike a lot of guys out. He gets a ton of ground balls, and he doesn't give up a lot of home runs. So who knows? It's a relief pitcher. He might possibly end up better than Puk out of the bullpen for the rest of the season, just because relievers are volatile, and he's only going to throw, 20 innings each of them, maybe?
I got another one. No pucking way.
Yes, pucking way. My money's still on Puk because he just has such raw stuff that is so much better.
Raw pucking talent.
And
We really got to stop.
And so when they picked up Floro in the trade, they DFA'd Miguel Castro. It's likely that he's going to hit the waiver wire now. It's likely he goes unclaimed because he's got a $5 million salary. So the team that picks him up would still be on the hook for like $1.5 million or something like that. I don't think any team is going to want to do that, frankly. Maybe he does. He's been down a couple miles per hour on his fastball. I'm not sure what Castro's status is. So if he goes through, I don't know if the D-backs retain the right to, if he refuses, if no team claims him, if they still hold the rights to send him to AAA, or if Castro holds the rights to opt out, if he can opt out of an assignment to AAA and become a free agent, because that's if he can, he's almost certainly going to do that, because some team, because of Castro's history, will certainly pick up Castro for the rest of the season if they don't need to pay his salary. Because in that instance, the D-backs would be paying his salary. And so some team can have him for free if he goes unclaimed. So I'm not for free, but marginal amount of money. And so I'm curious what happens there with him. He's definitely not getting claimed, though. I just can't imagine. And then Chaparro, who they gave up in the trade, he was a minor league free agent signing from the Yankees, and he has been their second best hitter in AAA all season. He's only 24 years old. He's got a pretty bright future ahead of him, and the Nats got a really good pickup. I'm interested to see. I would actually be kind of surprised if he does not get called up to play third base for the Nationals before the season is over. So that part's going to be kind of fun to watch him play in the majors and see how he adapts to Major League Ball. He's not a very good third baseman. He's certainly, him and DDLS, Davison De Los Santos, who they traded to the Marlins to get AJ Puk.
You said DDABCDEFG.
I would kind of put them on the same level of prospect. Chaparro is a much better fielder. He's probably not going to be as good of a hitter, but he's a better fielder. And so it'll be interesting to see how their careers turn out. I would actually, Davison, he's got a higher ceiling, certainly, because he hits the ball so hard. But he's also got a lower floor because he strikes out a ton. He doesn't strike out a ton, but he doesn't walk at all. And he can't really play any defense anywhere. Whereas Chaparro is a passable third baseman, probably would be a good-ish first baseman, and he's a more well-rounded hitter than Davison De Los Santos. So I would say De Los Santos has a higher ceiling than Chaparro, but also a lower floor. Like I would not be surprised if De Los Santos basically
seems like a nice house.
Only gets like 600 or 800 plate appearances in his career, and he's out of baseball. Where I think there's a really good chance that Chaparro gets at least like 2 or 3 full seasons of Major League Ball.
Is it a 2-story?
It's a 3.
Oh, he must be really rich. Well, I guess he is an MLB player.
Who knows? So that's what we gave up for Floro. Probably worth it. Ciccone, who I mentioned, he pitched once so far. He was excellent in his first relief appearance, which is not a surprise. With the 2 new additions, he's likely the odd man out when Eduardo Rodriguez gets activated on Tuesday, unless, like I had mentioned, they decide to put Paul Seawold on the injured list. Then Slade would stick around. But that's the only situation that I could see that happening. Otherwise, Ciccone is almost certainly going to get sent down when Rodriguez is activated. And Merrill Kelly might be back in about 10 days as well. He's right behind him. He's basically like one turn through the rotation behind Rodriguez for his rehab, basically. But it'll be interesting to see how the D-backs handle that. I never thought we would get so close to them both coming back and nobody else really getting injured. Plus, they added 2 more relief arms. Usually, I say it's a weird timing because usually I say when you're looking at pitchers coming back, the issue will solve itself, meaning pitchers break a lot. Pretty frequently, and so usually somebody gets hurt, and so as soon as somebody comes back from the injured list, they just have somebody else to put on the injured list, or somebody goes on the injured list just like a day or 2 before Rodriguez comes back. So they don't really have to worry about making any tough decisions.
Pitchers don't break; they bend.
Ryan bends. That's how he ended up with just a bone bruise and not a fracture when he got hit by that line drive.
You think he can touch his toes?
So for those of you who are wondering, that was the first question Phoenix asked me when he came back from his physical, because they asked him to touch his toes. And could you do it?
I got to like my ankle.
Yeah. That's about where I was when I was your age too. It was really hard for me. I honestly could not touch my toes until probably about 2-3 years ago. Not like I can now. I'm much more flexible than I used to be.
Yeah, I got to my ankles while bending my knees.
Took me until I was almost 40 to be able to touch my toes. Just bend down and touch them.
While bending my knees.
Yoga helps if you ever want to try it. And so Merrill Kelly might be back. And it'll be interesting to see how the D-backs handle that if nobody else gets hurt, because Montgomery continues to be the highest paid player on the team for this season, and he's been terrible. He's probably been, I would say, of like their 25 most used players on the team. He's been the worst of them, and literally, he's just been so terrible. He's got his strikeouts are way down. His walks are up a bit. He's given up a lot of home runs, ton of hard contact. His ERA is 6.51 on the season. 6.51. Like Miguel Castro, who just got released, I don't think or just got DFA'd, doesn't even have a 6.5 ERA. Like that is
6.5. Who won, Dad?
Yeah, you are bad. His FIP is a couple points better, but he's still, which is encouraging that he'll probably pitch better than he has so far. The results will be, I should say his production will probably be better than it has been so far, because his performance has been better than his production, but he's still far and away the worst pitcher in the rotation if everybody is healthy. Like it's not even close.
If you had a British accent, I could see you as Simon Cowell from AG.
Nice.
This is very terrible. I cannot believe what I'm seeing right now.
That's funny.
I've never seen him appreciate anybody.
And so,
how about you?
Hey, we just gave out Ketel Marte appreciation and Ryan Nelson appreciation.
I didn't say you.
Oh, I see. I would just sound like it when I'm criticizing.
Yeah, him,
yeah,
that guy.
Yeah, Jordan Montgomery. Yeah, he deserves it.
And that's also what Simon Cowell says.
And so I was, the D-backs are a contender in August and September, and when you're going down that stretch run, you really, really, especially the D-backs are by no means guaranteed a playoff spot. They are right in the thick of it. They have a playoff spot. They are in the third wild card spot right now, but they're only a half a game ahead of the Mets. And they got 2 other teams within 2 games below them, below the Mets, that are close as well. And they both made upgrades to their teams here at the trade deadline. So it's going to be tough. And when you're a team like the D-backs trying to compete for a wild card, when you are just right in the thick of it, you can't really afford to keep starting a pitcher like Montgomery the way he is pitching right now. When you have 5 pitchers, possibly 6 starting pitchers that are better than him.
You sounded like the backyardigans. Into the thick of it. Into the thick of it.
Woo! And so, it sucks because it would be an absolute shame. And it would really, I think, not be in the team's best interest to send Ryan Nelson to AAA when Kelly comes back. I get it up until Kelly comes back. Give Montgomery 2 more turns through the rotation, see if he can kind of clean himself up. But I mean, at this point, I think I have seen enough that when you're not gonna waive Jordan Montgomery. Maybe you waive Jordan Montgomery. I don't know. There's been weirder things that have happened. Like maybe you do waive Jordan Montgomery and see if somebody else wants to pick up his contract. Just give it a shot, and then just keep Ryan Nelson. And I'm very curious how this is going to turn out because you can't send Ryan Nelson to the bullpen. You need to keep an MLB caliber starting pitcher at AAA if possible, in case in the scenario that one of the other starting pitchers breaks down, because
pitchers bend
and
break.
Yeah, and so in case one of the starting pitchers goes down in the last 7 weeks of the season, you want to keep Ryan Nelson stretched out if you send him down to AAA for him to come up, because you need to keep him competitive. You definitely would not want to send him to the bullpen.
Yeah.
And so it's also there's been studies done about how pitchers who get injured get injured for a season and then come back, and it's a pitching related injury, which both like Ryan Nelson's injury was not what's considered a pitching related injury. It was an impact injury, which is something that is not a recurring issue. But Gallen and obviously Merrill Kelly and Eduardo Rodriguez, all three of those guys have already had pitching related injuries this season. And so they are more likely than Ryan Nelson or Brandon Pfaadt to go on the injured list again, or any pitcher who hasn't already been hurt in the same season. The slate gets wiped clean at, like, say, for 2025. I would not say that Rodriguez or Kelly or Gallen are more likely to get hurt than Nelson or Pfaadt. But any of those other guys for the rest of 2024 are at a heightened risk of being re-injured. And so
I feel like every pitcher's had a high risk of being injured.
I'm saying re-injured, but yes, you're correct. They are at a high risk of being injured, all of them. They're just at an even higher risk of being injured if they've already had a pitching injury this season.
Yeah.
And so just like tendons, ligaments, muscle injuries are more likely to happen a second or third time in the same season if they happen once already than to happen the first time. And so I'm very curious, if you can IL Monty, or you're just going to have to send him to the bullpen. You can't send him to the minors. That's not going to work. They have him, I believe his contract is vested for 2025, so he's under contract for next year, which I don't think he'll pitch this badly again. I can't imagine that's the case. But if you do send him to the bullpen, then Jarvis goes down, who doesn't really deserve to go down either. He's been stellar in July, but the team will need a long reliever with Rodriguez and Kelly both coming back from injury, not really going on a rehab assignment. They've just been pitching simulated games, and that's it. And so, maybe someone gets injured in the next 10 days. Maybe Seawold goes on the injured list. Maybe someone else gets hurt. But I don't know. It's usually a good problem to have too much good pitching that you need to send down someone. You have to make a hard decision to send someone like Bryce Jarvis or Slade Ciccone down. But Monty doesn't qualify as a good pitcher in 2024. And so I can't really say they have too much good pitching. It's more like him being the highest paid player on the team makes it kind of awkward to demote him to the pen. It's just, I hope the team does what's in the best interest of the team making the playoffs, and they don't play politics with the pitching staff, because that would really suck. I want to see this team in the playoffs again. And then just got a few more notes here. Outfield talk. Corbin Carroll, he's been much improved. It's not awesome, but since June 1st, he's got a WRC plus of 116. I believe he has an OPS plus of like 117 or 18. And his defense has been kind of a bummer. We talked about this in the offseason. I know. Hey, 116 he's not hurting you. And his base running is absolutely incredible.
He's not hurting me. He's hurting the team.
Yeah, he's not really hurting the team. But his defense has been great, or his base running has been absolutely fantastic. That his 116 plays up a little bit. He makes it all the way around the bases, higher rate of times that he gets to first than than any other player on the team because he's so fast and he's such a good base runner. So that part certainly helps him. But like we said, his arm is really kind of atrocious out in the outfield. And I actually think that Jake McCarthy might have a better arm than Carroll. I don't think McCarthy's is stronger than Carroll's is, but I think McCarthy is more accurate than Carroll is in the outfield. But the tough part about this season is Carroll started taking bad routes on balls. He's started getting bad jumps. Because he's so fast, he's still a average to above average defender, but it's not been awesome. Jake McCarthy, hot boy this week. Yeah. He probably should be batting leadoff versus right-handed pitching instead of Carroll. While Carroll has a 116 WRC plus since June 1, Jake McCarthy, as I mentioned earlier, has got a WRC plus of a work plus of 136, which is absolutely fantastic. I think that's good for a third on the active roster, behind Jock Peterson and of course Eugenio Suarez, who's been on an absolute tear. Maybe Moreno as well. He's been hitting lights out too. So, but it's not that huge of a deal. I get it. This is kind of the politics, and you're kind of hoping that Carroll turns it around. But Jake McCarthy certainly deserves to be in the top 5 of the batters faced, or top 5 hitters versus right-handed pitching, because the top 5 hitters in the lineup matter a lot more. Who bats in the top 5 because of the way that run distribution works throughout the lineup. Who bats in the top 5 is like twice as important in who bats in the bottom 4. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I don't want to get into it too much. And then Alek Thomas, he has visually been struggling, it seems, and his numbers, like his OPS, isn't looking all that great. But it's kind of crazy because since he's come back on July 3rd, I think it was, he's arguably been their best outfielder from a performance standpoint. And this is where we want to look at performance instead of production. He's clearly their best defensive outfielder. That's not to say Jake isn't good. Jake McCarthy is a better outfielder than Corbin Carroll is, or at least he has looked at this season. But Thomas is a Gold Glove caliber center fielder. He is just on another level of outfield defense. And and then there's kind of a surprise when I was going through some Baseball Savant pages, because we do nerd on the Dbacks, and I was looking at his ex-Woba.
What's ex-Woba? Isn't that an X-Man?
Maybe. Not to be confused with a MOBA.
Baseball.
And so ex-Woba is basically what their expected OPS would be if you take their batted ball quality and you just use that to predict whether they should get a hit or not. And then you use their batting swing decision making. So like if a ball gets called against you and that if a pitch gets called a strike against you and it should be a ball, ex-Woba will like give you a point for taking that pitch, even though it got called a strike against you, and vice versa. If it got called a ball and it was a strike, they'll subtract from you. So it just kind of tries to break down how good of a hitter you have been, not what you have produced, but how well you have performed.
Yeah. Imagine this. There's Logan, the X-Man. Lourdes, the ex-Woba.
And so actually, Alek Thomas's WOBA for the season is third highest on the active roster. Now,
yeah, Lourdes is number 1, obviously.
We're gonna get to who actually is number 3 on the roster, but not on the active roster, and that is
none other than.
So anyway, Alek Thomas, he hasn't been producing as well as McCarthy or Carroll, but he has been performing better than either of them. So it makes it really hard. You kind of like, I don't know how I hate to say this, but versus right-handed pitchers, I know I said it before and you stopped me, cut me short, but I love me some Lourdes Gurriel. but he would be the guy who sits most often against right-handed pitching right now. He's got a below league average OPS versus right-handed pitching. He's smashing left-handers, but he's got a below, yeah. So, and he's a really good outfielder. Well, a good outfielder. They couldn't see your smile. The microphone was in the way. And so, yeah, Lourdes would probably only be in the lineup for like half my games versus right-handed pitchers, but he would get into all of them as a pinch hitter. He would be my first pinch hitter off the bench versus a left-handed pitcher. So he would still get in a lot and still play a lot of outfield. He just wouldn't start as much for me, and I'd start those other three more often. And especially going down the stretch, those are the kinds of hard decisions a manager has to make. And you got to do what's in the best interest of the team. And having Thomas line up in center with McCarthy and Carroll in the corners, it gives the D-backs their best opportunity to win versus right-handed pitching. And so I'm sorry, I love Lourdes. He's my favorite. Well, Thomas is my favorite player on the team, but Lourdes is number 2.
Number 2.
He's got his role on this team, and that's probably what it is. And then Grichuk and Lourdes, especially Lourdes, have just been destroying left-handed pitching this season, which is awesome. And
Lourdes,
those two should be in the outfield against every left-handed pitcher, and then just pick one of your left-handed batters to go out there with them. And then on the dirt, Christian Walker went down with an injury. He had an oblique, which we talked about earlier.
Yep.
He's probably going to be out for 3 to 4 weeks. So I would expect he's probably not going to be back until September 1st, which is a tough injury. He's awesome. He was and probably still is on his way to winning the Gold Glove at first base again for the 3rd year in a row, though it's possible that Bryce Harper comes in and snags it if he has a really good month of defense out there. And so just as Walker went down, Josh Bell who is a first baseman who played for the Mariners. He's had some very good seasons in his career. He's not a very good defender, which kind of sucks.
Why?
And I don't know why. It's hard. He just doesn't have very good range at first base. And so doesn't put himself in a good position when he fields balls.
Why?
Desire.
Why?
Lack of.
Why?
Not intrinsically motivated.
Why?
You'd have to ask him.
I wish.
And so, but he does have, he's good enough that he got himself a 3-year contract as a first baseman. And he's been traded at each of the last 2 trade deadlines now. And
Why?
Because he's a good enough player that teams want him, but not so good that the team that has him isn't willing to give him away. Trade him away. And so the D-backs or the Marlins actually put him on waivers. And so the D-backs traded for Josh Bell for cash or a player to be named later, which basically means he's next to free. And so let's talk about Josh Bell a little bit. Bell is a switch hitter, first baseman, not good at defense. He is for his career, he's about a Lourdes Gurriel level of production.
Oh, wow. He's really good.
And he's slightly better versus right-handed pitchers than he is versus left-handed pitchers, which is good. The team needs to be better against right-handed pitchers. Yeah. He's a very streaky type of hitter. He's been a below average, league average hitter for the season.
He's not like Lourdes.
This year in 2024, which is why the Marlins waived him and traded him for next to nothing. He's on the final year of his contract, so he's just a rental. He's been very hot in July, but if you are for the season, if you're a below league average hitter at first base, you are way behind the first base average hitter for the position. So I personally would rather have seen them go with some platoon combination of Pavin Smith, Jock Peterson, and Lourdes Gurriel at first base, while Christian Walker is on the injured list. Jock has played first base for the Giants sporadically. Pavin Smith made that just crazy dynamite play at first base the other day, and I think he'd be a good first baseman. And I actually think Pavin Smith would probably out-hit Josh Bell as well. I think if you had Josh Bell play versus just right-handed pitchers, and you had Pavin Smith play just versus right-handed pitchers, and you gave them both 140 games, I actually think Pavin Smith would probably be the better player, the more valuable player. He definitely looks better on defense, and he'd probably be a better hitter. Now, you would need Pavin Smith can't hit lefties, and so you need somebody to platoon with him.
Well, everybody else can hit lefties.
Right, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. You could pretty much just, when you're putting your lineup together for facing a left-handed pitcher, you could just take all of your right-handed batters. I'd plug Lourdes in at 3 and Suarez in at 4 and Grichuk in at, I don't even know. The thing is, you could pretty much just draw them out of a hat. Just make sure Suarez is batting like 2nd or 4th, and the rest of them can just go anywhere in the order.
Yeah.
It really doesn't seem to matter much. They're all so good. And then, so we'll see if Bell comes in and he keeps his hot streak going. I think he hits something like 5 home runs in his last 10 games that he played for the Marlins. Marlins is a really tough park to hit home runs too. So he could be a great pickup for the next month. I would not be surprised at all if when Christian Walker comes back to the team, that Josh Bell gets DFA'd by the Diamondbacks,
yeah.
even though that he's under contract for another few $1 million, like couple $1 million for the rest of the season. I expect they would just eat that. That said, rosters expand in September. And so if Walker doesn't actually come back until September, they can keep him on the roster without having to drop him. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's not on the playoff roster if everybody's healthy. And then Suarez has been just outrageous in the month of July. I should have taken his numbers down because I'm pretty sure he's got like a 1.2 something OPS for the entire month of July now. And he is continuing his career-long story of mediocre in the first half and then becoming a very good hitter in the second half for no apparent reason whatsoever. And here's the best part is that if he continues the script that he has done almost every single season of his career, not just like career numbers, but literally each individual season of his career, he has gone completely nuclear in the month of August.
I think he does it on purpose.
And so we'll see what happens. I can't imagine that he hits better than he did in the month of July, but stranger things have happened, like him hitting as good as he did in the month of July in the first place.
Stranger things have happened.
So, yeah.
I don't know if that's a call out to Stranger Things or you just just kind of came to you.
It's just a turn of phrase.
I was like, Dad, that's like 4 years old.
And then with Walker, and then with Christian Walker down, Eugenio Suarez would absolutely be my cleanup hitter against righties and lefties until he cools off. And if he follows his career pattern, like I just talked about, that probably isn't going to happen for the rest of the season. So he would basically be my 4-hitter until Walker comes back. And then I would slide him to number 5 and keep him there. If he hits like he has, if he sticks to the script that his career has already written up to this date, I think he would be my 4 or 5 batter for the rest of the season, regardless of the handedness of the pitcher. And then Perdomo and Newman, they have made a great platoon at shortstop for the most part. Perdomo's hitting righties decently well, and he's a good defender. And Newman has hit lefties very well, and he's a passable defender at shortstop. And so they make a great team, or a great pairing. So that's really it. Not this, but Phoenix. Do you have anything else to add in? No?
Nope.
Just, what do you go Lourdes?
Yeah.
I am curious if we're going to see him at some first base here. I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm pretty excited for, I'm very excited for this hot streak that we have going on right now.
I know, it's so rad. And
everybody's just like smashing the ball.
They do get to face Paul Skeens on Sunday, which I'm looking forward to seeing how they do against Paul Skeens and watching Paul Skeens pitch because he's so much fun.
Yeah.
And then I'm also really curious. I just mentioned it, but I want to see if Eugenio Suarez really can turn up the offense another notch in August like he has his entire career, because it's hard to believe he could be better than he was in July. But man,
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, stranger things have happened, and no one saw his July coming. I thought he would be better in July just because I knew about his career arc to that point, and so I thought he would be better in July and August and September than he was in April, May, and June. It was kind of hard to be any worse or even stay at that level just because he's a good hitter. But I did not think. I thought, maybe he'll be a league average hitter or just a smidge better once July comes, and for the rest of the year he'll be a league average-ish hitter.
I just don't understand.
I don't get it either, but maybe he does. Maybe he turns it up another notch. I'd love to see it, and that's what I'm going to be looking out for most. So,
8 home runs in one game.
So that's it. Thanks for hanging with us for the whole show.
Yep.
Phoenix tells me we got to make these shorter. So we had a lot to recap because of the trade deadline on this one,
Yeah.
but we are going to start keeping these at around 40 minutes on these recap episodes going forward.
Because we know you guys have stuff to do, and you can't just sit there for an hour and watch.
Unless you love the long episodes. If you do love the long episodes, let us know in the comments below. And if you like something a little shorter, let us know in the comments below.
Well, he's trying to say is just comment something.
Yeah, let me know if you prefer the longer form or if you like the short, if you'd prefer a shorter episode. And with that, also like and subscribe if you haven't yet. And channel your inner kindergartner.
And share.
That's right. Rate and review too if you're feeling like it. We'd love that. And with that, no, you don't got something?
Oh, well, I was going to say this one thing. Go Lourdes.
And take it away, Limerick.
Under.